Tonight, Fiona pounding Turks and Caicos with 115-mile-per-hour winds and up to 8 feet of storm surge. After tearing through the Dominican Republic, its wake, destruction across Puerto Rico, an island reeling from yet another deadly blow. Gabriela Colon Arzola fled her home with her 2 young children as the floodwaters from Fiona rushed in.
Estaban bien preocupados y tuvimos que salir, el agua no llegaba a las rodillas, tuvimos que salir para la parte afuera para poder escapar de esto.
She lives in southern Puerto Rico, which was hit hard by the latest hurricane to ravage the island.
Jamás ni nunca pensé, esto parecía un río, una laguna, bajaban nevera, secadora, bajaba de todo.
She returned home this morning to survey the damage.
Gracias a Dios que tenemos vida, que es lo importante, lo demás es material, poco a poco no se recupera.
Minerva Marquez Villalongo was luckier. Her home was flooded but spared.
Everything she owns now, she's moved it up here into these bags. She had to protect it from the floodwaters that came inside of her house.
The 81-year-old has several medical conditions. She'll stay with her daughter until power is restored, happy to have family to lean on. Millions of Puerto Ricans are struggling after the Category 1 hurricane wreaked havoc on an already beleaguered island. As much as 30 inches of rain have fallen in some areas already. Up to 4 inches more are expected tonight. Officials say at least 4 people have died. That number is expected to rise. In Utuado, the central mountainous region, raging floodwaters from the storm destroyed this temporary bridge built after Hurricane Maria wiped out the previous one in 2017. This is what it looks like today.
I just feel trapped because the other way is broken too, so we have to go around.
The American territory has been devastated by 3 powerful storms in 5 years, leaving its citizens desperate for essentials like food, electricity, and running water. The devastation from Fiona laying bare the lingering infrastructure problems that have plagued the island for years, even after billions of dollars and vows to improve the fragile power grid after Hurricane Maria. According to FEMA, 1.18 million customers still don't currently have working electricity. That's 80% of the island.
The situation is a disaster. Enough is enough. The Puerto Rican Energy Bureau must push PREPA and LUMA not only to restore power, but to once and for all create a distributed, more resilient grid.
LUMA, which took over the national power grid last year, says they have restored power to 300,000 customers and expect more people to have electricity in the coming days. This crew from LUMA Energy is working on some damaged power lines here in San Juan. Take a look up at the bucket truck. They tell me this is happening across all of Puerto Rico. Omar Marrero is Puerto Rico's Secretary of State.
Right now, obviously, we're in the middle of the hurricane path, Victor. So every single time that a tropical storm comes or the hurricane comes, will hit the energy grid. It happens. And even though after Maria, the system was restored by the Army Corps, it was not permanently fixed.
In 2017, Hurricane Maria ravaged the island, a Category 4 with 155-mile-per-hour winds, battering the island. Some residents were left without electricity for nearly a year. More than 3,000 people died, the deadliest hurricane in modern U.S. history.
What's out there is total devastation, total annihilation, people literally gasping for air.
After Hurricane Maria damaged 80% of the island's power grid, $3.2 billion was spent trying to fix it. Congress earmarked $10 billion to rebuild the system. 5 years later, the island was supposed to be more prepared for a storm like Fiona, but it wasn't.
So you still have confidence in LUMA?
I still have confidence on LUMA, the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority, the water utility, all agencies that are collaborating right now, because this is not only the government. When we're talking about the disaster strikes and the response and the recovery, it's a unified command. It's a unity of purpose.
Puerto Rico has suffered through power outages for years, blackouts hitting the island even when there are no storms. The problem so entrenched in daily life, Puerto Rican megastar Bad Bunny just released this 23-minute music video documentary about the failures of Puerto Rico's power grid.
Right now, is there a realistic timeline for when power might be restored?
There's still some raining happening across the island, so it has to be safe. So they haven't finalized their damages assessment. I think that we have to be cognizant of the fact that this is a very complex disaster operation.
The island is still very much a disaster zone. Coast Guard helicopters assessing the damage Monday, the storm upending lives. In the hard-hit south, Ruben Ramos and his mother Onelia called 911 at midnight.
The water, she says that the water was running just like this, but inside of her house.
But firefighters couldn't reach them for 7 hours.
What was it like when the firefighters arrived? ¿Cómo sintieron cuando los bomberos llegaron?
Oh,
Felicidad, que
Felicidad.
estamos a salvo.
Felicidad, you were happy, you were relieved.
Happy.
Hopefully, we'll get the same support that we have gotten so far from the Biden-Harris administration to make sure that we can make great progress to make sure that in the next hurricane, the next storm, we're in a better shape.
Kelsey Ryan is a community aid worker who splits her time between Puerto Rico and New York. 5 years ago, she worked to send supplies to the island in the wake of Maria's devastation. Yet she says little has changed since 2017.
This is not just repeating itself, it's repeating itself even worse because now these people already had nothing. A lot of them already had Maria damage on their homes.
Puerto Rico is uniquely vulnerable to hurricanes and is also uniquely unprepared to cope with storm damage.
Storms are normal in the Caribbean. Puerto Rico seems to always take the brunt of the hits. So at this point, there should be some type of system or structure implemented.
Puerto Ricans picking up the pieces and rebuilding once again.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.